This is Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, and I thank you so much for staying with us as we are talking with Tina Malia and GuruGanesha Singh. I want to shift a little bit and talk about your music. You both have been performing individually for many years. Mm-hmm. You came together under what circumstances, and how has the blending changed you? Who wants to start?
I can speak to that. I've been, for the last 12 years, I've been touring with this wonderful devotional artist, a woman named Sanatam Kaur. And we met Tina at a festival in Auburn, California, about 8 years ago. And several people said, wow, Tina Malia's here. And Sanatam and Tina need to meet each other and need to sing together. And as it turned out, we were fortunate enough to be introduced to Tina. And it turned out that Tina was a huge fan of Sanatam's music and knew all the songs and knew all the harmony parts. So we thought, well, we should definitely have Tina sing one song with us. So during the sound check for our performance at the festival, we invited Tina, and Sanatam and Tina sang together, and their voices just blended together for me as the guitarist. And, you know, I felt like I had died and gone into the, and was hearing the music of the spheres, you know, the ethers. And so then we ended up saying, well, you can't just sing on the one song. We had her sing the entire set with us. And then as of about a couple of years ago, Sanatam recently, 5 years ago, got married and has a little 2.5-year-old, wanted to spend a little bit more time with, family, and has cut back on how many concerts that we were doing. I'm a bit of a touring junkie. And then I was thinking, God, I want to put another band together. And I was thinking, Tina Malia, could I somehow persuade someone of her caliber, to co-headline? So I called her up, and much to my, delight and amazement, she was very interested. So together, and we aligned ourselves. We got together, we played together, and found that the synergy was great. It was even better than we expected. And then together, we decided on, who we wanted, to support us musically. And we selected 3 gentlemen who are just amazing world-class musicians. And the responses have been astounding. And and we're having a blast because we're both kind of stretching into, the new parts of our musical selves that we wouldn't have otherwise. Mm-hmm. And she's phenomenal. She's one of the greatest female vocalists, I think, on earth today. And people will start to realize more and more as we get this out there.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question, Tina. How does what he has just said about you, how does that make you feel? Where does that put you?
Where does that put me? Well, my dedication is solely to the music always. That's my sole focus on planet Earth at this moment, is to create the greatest musical experience that we can as a group. And just really create something for everyone in our shows. And so it makes me feel fantastic. Thank you, GuruGanesha.
When the two of you began to collaborate, and I mean, you've expressed your admiration for the type of music that the two of you now create. Mm-hmm. You write your own music, both the notes as well as the words?
Well, I write, for my music, I write most of the music and some of the words, but a lot of the words are from our divine poetry, from mystics, from the Sikh tradition, from the Sufi tradition, from some of my music is literally gospel. Mm-hmm. And so I don't write that many lyrics because there's so much divine poetry that's been written too. I get inspired to put music to that divine poetry.
Tina?
I write a lot of original music in English, and then I love singing in different languages. And similarly to GuruGanesha, I've collected, I like to say, songs from all over the world. Most of them sacred songs in Hebrew and Sanskrit, some music in Spanish and Portuguese, and kind of whatever I can get my hands on. Now Now I have some Gurmukhi under my belt, which I love singing.
That's great.
And but I do have a whole sort of litany of music in English. It's all original compositions.
So this question to the two of you, and I'll start with you, Tina. What is it that inspires you to create this music?
Well, music is really, well, first of all, I mean, I was doing music in the womb. My mother was a concert pianist and opera singer, and she was literally playing me music while I was in her belly. And then I grew up literally, again, underneath a grand piano while my mother practiced all day. So music has been just like eating and sleeping for me pretty much every single day of my life. So it's not even that anything inspires me to do it. It's that I don't think I could do anything else. I feel lost and sad and alone when I don't have music as part of my daily life and my daily practice. So my inspiration is just like breathing for me, honestly, doing music. And as far as my inspiration for writing and learning music, I really love creating and learning music that's very uplifting, particularly in this day and age that we live in. I find that, there's everything out there, and there's music kind of based on every subject. You can find it. But I really like to create music that's really uplifting for people, that creates a space where they feel they can relax, they feel like they can open up, they feel like they can be themselves, and maybe touch a part of their hearts and their souls that they don't normally in their just sort of daily busy life. So that's the music that I'm inspired to listen to, and therefore that's the music that I'm inspired to create as well.
And Ganesha, what about you?
Well, I come from a family of entertainers. My mother and father were entertainers. My father traveled with Bob Hope during World War II on the USO, and they gave shows all over the place. He sang, he danced, he told jokes. My mother was a dancer. And at age 8, the Ed Sullivan Show, which was the big variety show in the 50s and 60s, and it's where the Beatles came and became famous through that show on Sunday evening. The studio guitar player for that show was my cousin. And they would pan the band every now and then, and my father would jump up and say, "That's your cousin, High White." So at age 8, he took me to visit him in New York. He took me down into the basement, and there's all these beautiful guitars hanging from hooks. And my cousin High White, who was like 20 years older than me, maybe 25 years older than me, he said, "Pick one." I looked all around, and I pointed at this semi-hollow body Gibson, beautiful sunburst kind of, finish. And I pointed at it, and he said, "You would pick the most expensive guitar down here." He takes it off the hook, hands it me. He says, "It's yours. Learn how to play it." And I took that as a hookum, meaning order from the divine. And my mother did too. She said, "Well, your cousin, I give you this $3,000 guitar." She got me lessons right away. And for 5 years, I learned how to play the guitar from the ground up, using both hands, learning it right. I had an Italian taskmaster teacher who really cracked the whip. And I'm very grateful. At the time, I didn't like it very much, but I'm very grateful because, he taught me how to read music, how to play with, properly, fingers at the right frets, using both hands the right way. And then I put it away to play baseball. And then the Beatles came to America. And the music of the 60s, just music, you're talking about music. Why music? Well, nothing touched my heart like music in my life. Nothing. Just totally bypassed the intellect, touched the heart. And so, I just remember in college just staying up all night, night after night after night, not interested in studies, just playing the guitar along with my favorite artists at the time, mainly playing along with Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead in college. And then, so that's how it happened for me. And, I just had a rock and roll band that toured with the Allman Brothers in the late 60s, early 70s. And then got to a point, though, where I just had to get out of that whole drug scene and was looking for a way to feel uplifted without all the chemistry that all the rock and roll musicians were using, and found Kundalini Yoga and a teacher from India named Yogi Bhajan, and got on a spiritual path. But the music was he was a big advocate of using music even for the yoga path. We'd every yoga class, there'd be music going on, there'd be music at the end. We'd all sing together, mantras, chants, sacred songs. in a very joyful, celebratory way, and that's kind of led up to. And, at a certain point, I just decided, that's all I wanted to do, and started a record label, started recording and meeting amazing devotional music artists like, Tina Malia.
This is Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We'll be right back.